Here's a scary thought. Isn't it scary that the moment you walk out of your home, you're virtually no longer safe? I've stated in other videos that the world is a scary place, and this idea only further proves that point. Really think about it. If you step outside your home, you become vulnerable. You essentially leave yourself open for some random stranger to come attack you. You may even get hit by a drunk driver, for all you know. In fact, just to continue on this thought, you could even be kidnapped by a random person, a group of people, or even your Uber driver. This of course sounds like I'm being a bit paranoid, but when people disappear for no reason whatsoever, with little to no trace of what happened, I think I have the right to be. People seem to disappear without a trace, what seems like every other day really, and it's terrifying to say the least. In reality, it is hard to imagine how so many people end up vanishing without an ounce of evidence as to what happened to them. Calico. Calico was a young, average woman. She was outgoing, and her friends described her as ambitious, and as the life of the party. When they received news of what happened to her, they were distraught, and were left in utter confusion, because they couldn't understand how anyone could hurt Tara. What exactly happened? Well, on September 28, 1988, 19-year-old Tara in Belen, New Mexico, went to go bike riding on Highway 47. Highway 47 apparently being a popular biking spot for the local teens and young adults. Anyway, she went to the popular biking spot, only to never return back home. When Tara didn't come home, her mother went on an extensive search. She notified the police, and contacted each and every one of Tara's friends, but to no avail. Neither Tara nor her bicycle were seen ever again. The case remained cold for about a year until a new piece of evidence came into fruition. On June 15, 1989, a random pedestrian found a photograph of two people gagged and tied, one older girl and a younger boy. She found the photograph outside a convenience store in Florida. Eerily enough, previously, in the spot where the woman found the photograph was a large white van parked with no windows. Moreover, the picture of the teenage girl and young boy were believed to have been Calico and 9-year-old Michael Henley, who vanished in New Mexico the previous year. Unfortunately, Henley's remains were found soon after. However, as of today, no one has any clue what happened to Tara. Many have developed theories, but none of them have anything conclusive to point to what actually happened to her. Amy Bradley. Amy Bradley was quite the stunning woman, at least according to most of her friends. She was reportedly about to go on a date with a neighbor whom she'd been talking to for a while when she got home from her trip. Unfortunately, she would never get the chance. The Bradley family, Amy, her parents, and her brother, all planned a trip on the Royal Caribbean cruise ship, Rhapsody of the Seas. They were all enjoying their stay, especially Bradley. Anyway, Bradley was only 23 when she went missing on March 24, 1998. After a night of clubbing, she returned to her room tired, and then proceeded to go out for a cigarette because she reportedly was feeling nauseous and needed something to calm her nerves. However, she never came back. Amy's family last saw her in the early morning of that 24th of March. Some of the other guests aboard the ship also claimed to have seen her entering an elevator. Since that point, she had never been seen again. Her parents reported her missing, but ultimately got nothing out of it. No eyewitness reports claiming to have seen Bradley have surfaced beyond that point. What the family was going through was nothing short of dreadful. To make matters worse, it wouldn't be until 7 years later that anything regarding Bradley's disappearance would surface. Unfortunately, when something did, it wasn't good news. Again, it would be 7 years later that the Bradley family would receive any news regarding Amy. The family received an emailed photograph from an adult escort website featuring a woman who resembled her. It was at that point that the Bradley family came to the horrible conclusion that Amy had been smuggled off the ship and forced to work as a sex slave. Grigor. In 2012, Pennsylvania State coach Jerry Sandusky was convicted for child molestation. Shockingly, Sandusky could have actually been sentenced to prison earlier if the district attorney at the time, Grigor, chose to do so. In 1998, he was presented with evidence that pointed to the fact that Sandusky was participating in child molestation. However, despite this evidence presented to him, he refused to prosecute. As a side note, Grigor allegedly continued to investigate the case further on his own. Strangely enough, Grigor announced that he would not run for re-election as district attorney in 2004, even though he had done so many times previously and won every time. Even stranger, he had somehow vanished into thin air. The following year, Grigor disappeared, and no one had any clue why he did, where he went, or how he managed to disappear without anyone seeing him. In April of 2005, Grigor's car was found, but there was no sign of him. After a brief search, the police found Grigor's laptop, but no hard drive was found inside it. The hard drive actually wouldn't be found until a few months down the line. Unfortunately, the hard drive was useless. It was destroyed, and nothing could be retrieved from it. With no evidence whatsoever, the police speculated that Grigor committed suicide because he found evidence that pointed to Sandusky's guilt, and he couldn't live with himself any longer, knowing that he had the evidence to prosecute him. However, another theory arose from the other locals after Sandusky's arrest, saying that Sandusky was actually the one that killed Grigor because of what evidence he actually managed to uncover, hence why the hard drive was destroyed. D.B. Cooper. D.B. Cooper is perhaps the most famous case on this list. On November 24th, 1971, a well-dressed man who identified himself only as Dan Cooper boarded a Boeing 727 at Portland International Airport for a simple trip to Seattle. He had a cigarette, asked for some bourbon, and drank a soda. The moment the flight took off, he proceeded to hand the stewardess a note. The note he handed over to her said he had a bomb and would detonate it if his demands were not met. He asked for $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes to be given to him in exchange for the passenger's safety. The FBI of course complied, and by the time they reached Seattle, Cooper demanded the pilot take off yet again. When they were mid-flight, Cooper told the rest of the crew to go into the captain's cockpit and close the door. At 8 p.m., the aft air stairs opened up and Cooper jumped out with the money and parachutes at hand. To this day, this is apparently the only unsolved hijacking of a plane in U.S. history. Moreover, Cooper has yet to be found, and this still remains an open case. Unfortunately, there is no clear-cut answer for the cases we discussed, and there may never be a satisfactory conclusion. There's bound to be more mysterious disappearances every day. Luckily for us, when people vanish nowadays, we get the privilege of a conclusion, as it usually turns out they were killed, kidnapped, or at least they were bound to be seen with all the security cameras around every corner of the streets. My point? We get to have some kind of answer if someone disappears. However, that doesn't change the fact that you should be careful when you wander about on the streets, and this little factoid should tell you why. Did you know? Every year people go missing by the thousands. In 1980, that number was roughly 150,000 people a year. But as of today, the numbers range from 900,000 to 1 million.